How good will the Cincinnati Bengals defense be in 2022? This was a really underrated defense last season, and I said it so many times, and yet nobody really realized it until the playoffs. I'm really excited about what this defense can do this year, because not only do I expect the Cincinnati Bengals to have the best offense in the league, but maybe this defense could perform at a top 10 level. You have Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson, one of the better pass rushing duos that we have in the league. Sam Hubbard had 7.5 sacks last year. Trey Hendrickson had 14 sacks. Trey Hendrickson is quietly becoming one of the best edge rushers in the game. Multiple seasons of having double-digit sacks. It's only a matter of time before we start regarding him in that conversation of maybe being one of the best in the game. Then, when it comes to the interior of the defensive line, you have defensive tackle DJ Reader, phenomenal in the run game. 43 tackles, he had 3 tackles for loss, and also had 2 sacks last season. BJ Hill, 5.5 sacks, 50 tackles, 6 tackles for loss. The Bengals got really good play out of their defensive line last year. But a rookie that I'm really excited to see for Cincinnati this season is defensive lineman Zachary Carter. He was the Bengals' 3rd-round pick, hailing from the University of Florida. Last year for the Gators football program, he had 8 sacks. And he can also play defensive tackle, but he can also play DN as well. And I like him better at D tackle because he has very quick feet, good hands. He has a good amount of pass rush moves. And I think this year we're going to see him come in as a rotational pass rusher. He's going to come in when it comes to 3rd down situations and obvious passing situations. And I think he has potential to end up being a really good interior pass rusher for the Cincinnati Bengals. At linebacker, you have Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt returning. Last year, we saw both Pratt and Wilson elevate their play in the playoffs. Jermaine Pratt had the game-stealing interception in the wild card win against the Las Vegas Raiders when he caught that interception, 4th and goal, to seal the game for Cincinnati, which helped them move on to the divisional round, which they would end up going on to beat Tennessee. Logan Wilson had 100 tackles last year, which led the team. He also had 4 interceptions and 4 pass deflections. He is really starting to become one of the better all-around linebackers in this game. Jermaine Pratt was 3rd on the team in tackles with 91. He had 2 pass deflections and an interception. The linebacker play for Cincinnati is going to be even better this season because last year they played really solid. But in the playoffs, they really elevated their game. They really took that next step. And hopefully, they can continue the hot streak that they had in the postseason last year. And it can carry over into the 2022 NFL season. At cornerback, you have Chidobe Awuzie, who was your best corner. He had 14 pass deflections, 2 interceptions. Eli Apple, he's somebody who gets a lot of hate. And I think he's overhated in a sense. I understand he gave up the game-losing interception, the game-losing touchdown in the Super Bowl, but let's not act like he was getting burned all that game. As a matter of fact, Eli Apple had some good moments. Yes, he had some really bad moments, especially when he was trash-talking on social media and he ended up getting burnt. However, he does possess some really good traits. And it's a big reason why Cincinnati brought him back on a 1-year deal. If Eli Apple wasn't good, he wouldn't be playing for Cincinnati right now. He would still be a free agent. So obviously, Cincinnati feels that he brings some value to this defense, and that's why they're giving him a 1-year extension. And also, he's not that bad as a lot of people try to make him out to be. He had some big moments. He had a tip pass against Kansas City that ended up winning the game for them. It ended up being an interception. So, I mean, he did have a couple of bad moments, but let's not try to act as if Eli Apple was just completely terrible all year. Okay? Even Jalen Ramsey had some moments last season when he got burnt. Heck, he got burnt in the Super Bowl. So every cornerback has their days. Eli Apple probably had the best season of his career with Cincinnati in 2021. And it may not be saying much because you may look at Eli Apple and say, oh, JT, well, I mean, it's not as if he had any good seasons prior to last year. Understandable. But I just feel as if the hate for Eli Apple it's kind of a little bit dragged out at this point. It's kind of as if people are beating a dead horse. Eli Apple is not that bad. I just had to say that because too many people try to make it seem like Eli Apple is just this garbage cornerback who has no business starting. If he was garbage, Cincinnati wouldn't have re-signed him to a one-year deal. Go back and watch some of the tape. He had some games where he got burnt, but he also had some good moments as well. Rookie cornerback out of Nebraska, Tam Taylor-Britt, was drafted in the second round. Cincinnati actually traded up to get him, and he potentially could start over Eli Apple this season, but I think that he's probably going to end up taking this year, taking the back seat. Then when Eli Apple's contract expires at the end of this year, he'll end up stepping into that starting outside corner role. He is a super athletic cornerback, and he's aggressive. There are not too many cornerbacks that are willing to come up and lay a hit on players nowadays like Cam Britt is. Cam Britt is a rare cornerback in the sense that he's not afraid to hit. And when I say hit, I'm not talking about your normal ankle biters. I'm not talking about going low. He will really get up with you and really try to lay a smack into you. And I love that out of Cam Britt because there are too many defensive backs who are coming into the game now who only care about covering and they don't care about stopping the run. They don't care about tackling. They just do enough to get by. Cam Britt is going to lay the wood to you when he gets the chance, and I love that. However, his aggressiveness does get him in troubles in time. If you go back and you watch his tape in Nebraska, he had some moments where he got beat on double moves, where he was just simply too aggressive. He got caught lacking in play action, too busy keying the run, which ended up resulting in him being out of position and getting beaten over the top. However, he does have very good recovery speed, but he needs to learn how to play more disciplined. And when he learns how to play more disciplined with his aggressive style of play, he's going to end up being a really good cornerback for Cincinnati. He also has the ability to play safety. He can play slot corner. You can move him around in many different positions. And I think that the Cincinnati Bengals defensive coordinator is going to have a lot of fun with Cam Taylor-Britt. Then you have rookie DB out of Michigan, Daxton Hill, who Cincinnati took in the first round of this past year's NFL draft. Super athletic defensive back with great twitch, great awareness. He understands what's going on. He's really exceptional when it comes to anticipating routes. Then he can line up anywhere as well. We talk about the versatility that Cam Taylor-Britt has. Daxton Hill, I don't know how Cincinnati's going to use him. Because when you have somebody with this kind of skill set, you just have to put him on the field and just say, go play. So you're going to put him in that slot over Mike Hilton, who Mike Hilton is one of the best slot cornerbacks, if not the best slot corner in the league. Or you're going to put him back there at safety. Is he going to be somewhat of a hybrid linebacker or nickel and dime packages? How does Cincinnati plan on using Daxton Hill? We don't really know. At the moment, on the depth chart, according to Ourlens.com, he's listed as their nickelback. But I don't really understand how Cincinnati plans to utilize him because he's so good and you can put him pretty much anywhere. It's just really hard to find a role for him when you have so much talent already on defense. He also could play outside cornerback if you need him to. Then you have Jesse Bates, Von Bell at the safety position. I know that Jesse Bates currently is at odds with Cincinnati trying to get a new deal done. I already made a video about it on the JT Sports Podcast. Make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. But even if Jesse Bates and Cincinnati can't come to terms on a long-term deal, I strongly doubt that Jesse Bates is going to sit out this year, simply for the fact that it doesn't benefit Jesse Bates to sit out. I understand that he doesn't want to play on the franchise tag. Nobody wants to play on the franchise tag because if you do and you get injured, then it negatively affects you when it comes to future contract negotiations, whether that be with the Bengals or in free agency. But I do expect him to play this year. I would be extremely surprised if he doesn't. You also have Von Bell back there, which he had a pretty solid role with Cincinnati last year. I think he was kind of underrated. Not enough people talk about what he did with Cincinnati in 2021. Then you have rookie safety Tyson Anderson out of Toledo, who could potentially be Von Bell or Jesse Bates' replacement. He's a 6'2", 209-pound safety. He is really good inside the box, especially when he has to line up against tight ends. I think he's phenomenal in that role. For Toledo, he played in big nickel packages majority of the time. That's where he had the most success as. So for Cincinnati, if Von Bell ends up leaving and they don't want to resign him, or they can't resign Jesse Bates, I think we could see Tyson Anderson slide into one of those starting safety spots next year. However, he'll probably have a little bit of a role on special teams, and he may come in if, God forbid, one of them gets injured. But I'm really excited for what this Cincinnati Bengals defense could do this year, because this was one of the most underrated defenses in the NFL. They stepped up big time when it mattered the most, and they made play after play in big moments. Not only that, but their defensive coordinator deserves a lot of credit. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but he is really good at making adjustments. You go back to the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City was just running up the score. And many people thought, okay, this is the end of the road for Cincinnati, right? Well, after halftime, they come out and they hold Patrick Mahomes to 55 passing yards and 2 interceptions. In the first half, Patrick Mahomes was going off. In the second half, he had no touchdowns and only had 55 passing yards. Unbelievable. This defensive coordinator is going to be a head coach sooner rather than later if he keeps up the performance, because this is a really good coaching staff. Not just him, but Zach Taylor in general. Zach Taylor deserves a lot of credit. I don't think he gets enough praise for the job he did last season, getting Cincinnati to the Super Bowl. But the staff that he assembled is really good, and they're really smart. They pay attention to the smart details in the game. And when you look at the defense of Cincinnati, with how good they were last year against the run, that's not only going to improve, but their pass rush is going to improve also with the addition of Zachary Carter. Zachary Carter, man, I'm expecting him to have at least 3-4 sacks this year. He's not going to be a full-time starter, but he is going to be really good in situations where you need him on the field to help against the pass. When you need an extra boost in the pass rush, he's going to give you that. I like the addition of rookies Cam Taylor-Britt. They have a lot of potential. Same thing with defensive back Daxton Hill. This is a defense that is building something special, because their defensive backs have a lot of versatility. You can play them pretty much anywhere on the field. And I'm really interested in seeing how Cincinnati continues to build this defense in the near future. Are they going to continue to add more versatile players who can play more than one position and can be lined up on pretty much anywhere on the defense? I'm really excited to see, but I'm expecting this defense to pick up from where they left off last year. At worst, they still should be a top 15, top 13 defense in the league, but at best, this defense could be almost as good as the offense. This could be a top 10 defense this year. So let me know how you guys are feeling about the Bengals defense going into the 2022 NFL season. This was one of the more underrated units in the NFL this year. Well, last season. I'm really high on them, and I'm excited to see what the Bengals can do this year on the defensive side of the football.